Welcome to Talk About, the show where I, Alex Brown, talk about whatever it is I feel like talking about, whether it's the hottest gaming news or just any random thing that comes to my mind. Beyond this intro and the outro, this is completely unscripted content, the idea being that there's less production behind it, meaning that these can be more frequent than the video essays I do here, and that way, it's just more conversational. But the only way to make it more of a conversation is with you. So check the link in the description so you can write in and be a part of the next episode of Talk About. And so that we can get even more like-minded player voices heard in these, be sure to hit the subscribe button, bell button, like button, and share this video to everyone you know to help boost that algorithm and get this video to those who need to see it. So that we can all grow as a community. I would appreciate that so very much. But for today, I just wanted to talk about, you guessed it, Starfield. This is the Starfield episode because if you saw last episode, I mentioned that the topic of Starfield would just be too massive to handle alongside the rest of the summer showcase stuff. So here we are today with the Starfield episode. I know, very exciting. I'm very excited because it's Starfield and I just want to talk about Starfield. So, because there is so much to talk about though, I needed to get some sort of structure in my mind for this. So the way I'm doing it is I rewatched the Starfield deep dive and then I just jotted down some notes as I watched it. I'm just going to hit those bullet points that I hit and we'll talk about it together. Sound great? Sounds great. Okay, so first bullet point here. Starfield is the first brand new universe from Bethesda Game Studios in over 25 years. And they make a clear point to mention that it's not just one world. It's over 1,000 worlds. And it's crazy to look at this game and think back to the Skyrim presentations, the Fallout presentations, probably the Skyrim presentations more so. Actually, it was Fallout 76, the presentation where he said, "You see those mountains over there? You can go there." Well, in Starfield, you see that moon over there? You can go there. And that's insane. And it's very exciting because it's a new Bethesda Games Studios game. And we haven't had one of those since 2015. We're not going to count Fallout 76 because they only helped with that. That's not on them. Not majority of it, at least. It's been 7 years? No, 8 years is the math there. Since Fallout 4, and it's so exciting to have a new massive open world RPG from Bethesda Game Studios. And I'm not the only one who is excited. Our first viewer write-in comes in from Socksucker42, the most devout of the write-ins, if you will. This guy's always in here. Shout out to Socksucker42. I really like seeing your name because it's a very unique name, I gotta say. You can never forget it. But I asked the question, what are you most excited about in Starfield? And they simply answered, a new Bethesda open world game. And that in and of itself is so exciting that, like I just mentioned, it's been 8 years since Fallout 4. And Starfield is the next generation of that. It's on a new generation of systems. Well, Xbox. Sorry, PlayStation. But it's using all that new hardware, all their learning since then, almost a decade of new tech and just knowledge under their belt. It's very exciting to see what they do with it all. Next bullet point I have here is that whenever you enter the atmosphere of New Atlantis, at least, they scan your ship for contraband, which is such a small little thing that they don't really touch on in the deep dive itself. But just the thought of that, the implications of that excite me very much. In the way that means you could be like a little Han Solo type smuggling some illegal items, and then sell them for a high profit to the shady types over there and on the planet. And it's just, that's the opportunities that pose excite me very much. From just a small 2-second clip from the deep dive. That just makes my mind go wild. But speaking of New Atlantis, they have claimed, the developers over at Bethesda Game Studios, they have claimed And I don't see why they would lie to us. That New Atlantis is the biggest city that they've ever made. Well, that's pretty cool, you know? I mean, that's pretty cool. Not only is Starfield their biggest game, they have the biggest cities. Like, it could always be said that, oh, they have all those planets out there, but they didn't really focus on like the handcrafted stuff too much because they had the planets to fill out the world. But no, New Atlantis being the biggest city in a Bethesda game studio game makes me believe, yeah, they definitely made sure that those handcrafted segments are like the top notch, the top of their game, if you will. And on New Atlantis, you'll find Constellation, which are supposedly the last true explorers hunting for artifacts. And apparently, this is where our main story takes us, to finding Constellation, connecting with them, and hunting for artifacts. I don't know. They didn't really specify much about that, the actual story, just more so an introduction to Constellation and the group, which I'm guessing is a faction, which maybe you can decide whether to be a part of them or not. Who knows? Maybe it's the one faction you need to be a part of to progress the story. Who knows? I don't know. We won't know until September, which is still so far away. But in introducing Constellation, we were also introduced to numerous companions, of which there are so many. Just in Constellation alone. Let alone all throughout the galaxy, which we'll get to later. Also, there was a scary underground creature that they showed at this moment, and it was really cool, and it's scary, and it just so exciting how diverse the creatures look in this game, you know? But after they talked about the Constellation Group and New Atlantis, they mentioned the United Colonies, and they described it as essentially the civilized society in Starfield, where the most civilized people live, and it's more like Earth. It's like Earth 2 type of stuff, you know what I mean? And then they went on to introduce us to Free Star Space, which in my mind, it's the Outer Rim from Star Wars. And if you know me at all, Star Wars is great, and I love Star Wars, and that's essentially what it is, with a Western aesthetic to it, which is interesting because I didn't expect a Western aesthetic in this space game, but there it is. And then beyond that, there's also the settled systems, which includes the city of Neon, which, I mean, you can see it on the screen right now. I'm showing it to you. It's just Cyberpunk 2077 as a city. All of these different locations in of themselves just look like completely different games. One is like a space game with the United Colonies, sci-fi stuff. Outer Rim looks like it could just be, it's not called the Outer Rim, excuse me. It's a Free Star Space that just looks like it could be its own Western space game. And then, of course, the City of Neon looks like Cyberpunk 2077. Who are we kidding? And then they went on to introduce us to various types of factions throughout the world, including these Va'ruun Zealots. I don't know how to pronounce that. I just paused the video when they showed up their health bar, and it says Va'ruun Zealot. So I don't know what that means, but they're a great serpent worshipping faction, which apparently you can worship the same god as them, and that helps you talk to them, which they mention later. That's pretty neat. They also show us whatever the Red Mile is. I don't know if they're a faction or not, or if it's like a little side activity. Who knows? They also show us the Crimson Fleet, which is, if you were to ask me, it's the Ravagers from Guardians of the Galaxy. They're just some friggin' space pirates, and that's so cool to me. Just the wide breadth of things there are in this game. You could be on Constellation, you know, the law-abiding citizens type of stuff, or you could be a space pirate and you can smuggle some illegal goods, and it's just so cool to me. Also, a little small note, they show the map at one point, and it shows the player bounty on the side, that the player has a bounty on them, which is cool, so there'll be bounty hunters sent after you, which they do mention as one of the perks later on, that bounty hunters can just come after you sometimes, which is cool. And then they go on to talk about the character creator. And oh man, is it a good looking character creator. It's the type of character creator that I love and hate at the same time, because I just want to play this game. I want nothing more right now than to just play Starfield. But I just know I'm going to spend at least 3 hours in there because it looks very in depth. The ways that you can customize your character all the way. And it doesn't stop with just the way you look. You can also do traits from the character creator, which is great. Which which really goes a long way into making me think that it's truly going to be an RPG. Because in past games like Fallout 4 or Skyrim, there would be times where it's just, you just follow this main path. And that's the way to go. There's not really much choice in the matter. Not as much as a true full-fledged RPG would have, in my opinion, at least. Because at least in Skyrim's case especially, you're just the Dragonborn there to save the world. And that's it. No choice in the matter. But with these traits, they can pop up throughout the world, and depending on the way you play your character or build out your character, you could have a very different outcome, which is very exciting to me. They also bring up the Adoring Fan, which is crazy. It's crazy. Remember this guy from Oblivion? He's back. He went to outer space. I don't know how it works. There's probably no actual canonical reason to it. It's just a cool little Easter egg, and I love it because it's Bethesda looking back at their roots and going, let's just have some fun. And that's what I want. I just want to have some fun in a Bethesda game. There's also a trait that was called Kid Stuff, which I thought was really cute because it puts your parents in the game and you support them and you can visit them. And I just thought that was really cute and it's cool. Then they did a little quick slideshow of all of these cool outfits you can get, which is another thing I'm just going to spend way too much time on, making my character look as cool as possible. There's just so much. That's the tip of the iceberg in terms of things I'm going to waste time on in this game. But what's not necessarily going to be a waste of time is the building out of my character's skills. We get a good look at the skills and perk system that feature in Starfield, and it's kind of similar to Fallout 4, and it offers just a wide variety of ways that you can build out your character and play the game essentially how you want. And it really rewards you for going down that path. I do hope, though, that there's a level cap this time because Fallout 4 did not have a level cap, which ended up giving you the ability to, in a way, just have every ability and just be all powerful. And like that's cool and all, but I like the idea of having of building your character to a set path rather than just being able to do everything, you know? That way you get more replayability out of it by replaying the game different ways with different styles and that sort of thing. So I do hope that there's a level cap that keeps that in check this time around. And if not, maybe I just stop leveling after a certain point and cap myself off, you know? The next bullet point was that you can buy or sell ships and hire crew at spaceports. And at these spaceports, you can also customize your ship, and it's just as insane as the character creator. You can change anything from like the systems on the internal side to the looks and layout and the color, and it's just so cool. There are things you can add from like living quarters to cargo holds and mess halls just to really customize this place out to make it like a nice traveling home for all of your companions, or a nice little place to store all your illegal goods, or, you know, just your normal goods. Maybe you can just be a trader in this game. Who knows? It's just so exciting. Just be a traveling merchant. I wonder if this game has an economy where like a plant on Neon sells for twice as much on New Atlantis. Because that would be really cool, because that would make it so that your cargo holds don't necessarily have to have illegal drugs, and you can just sell plants. Not those kind of plants, but you know what I mean? Like you can buy low somewhere else and sell high at another planet, because that'd be pretty cool. And they also go through the crew members again, and they mention that you can romance them sometimes. It can blossom into a romance. Sarah Morgan, hey, how are you? How you doing? How's it going? But then then things get crazy, even crazier than they already were, which is insane to think about because already this game, just alone, all the things I've already mentioned, has the potential to be a 10 out of 10 game. And then they just keep going. And not only can you pilot your ship in space, but there is also space combat. And it's not just point and shoot on rail stick shooter type of thing. You can like actually divert the power into whatever you want to use at the moment. So think about all of those sci-fi shows and movies you've seen where the characters are all like, are they're like on a chase and they're like divert all power to the shield so they can make their escape, or they're like, oh, divert all your power to your weapons so that you can hit harder and just rinse through them. It's just so exciting. There's a tactical nature to it all, or you could just put all your power into your warp drive so you can just blast on out of there. It's just, it's exciting to me. And you can also board and steal enemy ships, which you can then sell for more credits, which is just, that alone is a video game. I feel like there's a video game that is just that part that exists out there. But this game has that and so much more. They also, they go on to show off some more of the environments out there, some more characters and stuff. And it's here where it really hit me that the side quests in this game are going to be just expansive and just cool. They're just going to be like all over the place. Like I'd imagine you're just going to stumble across them all the time, where you're just like, I'm going to go check out this planet. And then you just find people there who have a problem you have to solve. And it's cool. It's cool to think that there are just going to be quests everywhere you go, because a lot of the focus on Starfield has been the exploration stuff and how it looks like No Man's Sky, that sort of thing. So you just kind of think about the exploration things and the harvesting materials and that sort of thing. But it's still a Bethesda Game Studios game at the end of the day. Meaning, yeah, you're going to get all those factions, all those side quests, and all of that good stuff. A nice story to string you along all of it. And that's very exciting. But then we got a little brief intermission, which I'm also going to be using as my little brief intermission. Because while obviously I'm going to keep talking about the game, but let's take a minute to talk about some stuff. Well, they unveiled the Starfield Xbox headset and the Starfield controller, which personally I'm not interested in because I already have an Xbox Elite controller, and if I have an Elite controller, I don't want to go back to a normal controller. If it was an Elite controller that looked like that, absolutely, I'd get that. But I'm not going to use just a normal controller. I need the back paddles. If you know what I'm talking about, you know why I can't just use a normal controller after being so accustomed to back paddles. That's why I don't like my PlayStation 5, because I don't have back paddles on that. I know I could get the controller, but that's so expensive. Jeez. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. And then the headset, it's the over-ear headset, and I just feel like my hair is too big to use that correctly, so not really a thing for me to use, me personally at least. But those things are selling out fast, so they're for someone out there, and that's great. But they also unveiled their collector's edition. Now, their collector's edition, that's something I am on the fence about. And it's only because I don't know if I should spend $300 on this game that's going to be free with Game Pass, you know? But then I think about it, and maybe I should, because it's Starfield, you know? It's a new IP from Bethesda Game Studios. How often does that happen? Not that often. It's their first new IP in 25 years. That's how rare it is for them to have a new IP, a new universe. And when is there ever going to be a Starfield 2? At this rate, thinking that we have Elder Scrolls 6 and then Fallout 5 in between a Starfield 2, that's probably 15 years away. Oh my God, that's probably true. Yeah, I think I just convinced myself I'm going to get the collector's edition. Next time I see it in stock, I'm going to get it. I know it's $300 and I already have a smartwatch. But this, I didn't even mention what's in it. It has a cool smartwatch that is the same watch that your character has in the game. But yeah, I've just convinced myself to get it because, yeah, it's going to be an insanely hard it's a once in a lifetime sort of thing, I feel like. Yeah, so I'm going to get it. I've decided. You saw it here live. But yeah, it has a cool watch. that your character has, and it costs $300, and it comes with the game digitally and the expansion pass. And people don't like the fact that it comes with a digital copy and not a physical copy, but I understand why, because I mean they have the Series S, so some people are going to play it on that, so they would need a digital copy. But either way, I am down for it, and I'm gonna get it. I've decided. But yeah, that was their brief intermission from talking about the game itself, and then they went back into it by just showing off the combat. And the combat looks really good. But then they showed it a little bit. They go into more detail in a second, but first they talked about how you can build outposts anywhere and on any planet. And these are pretty much the Fallout 4 settlements, but refined in a way. Just enhanced in all the ways you could imagine and anything you would want. Like, these outposts can be used to gather planet resources, and you can assign crew members, and you could even live there if you don't want to stay on your ship all the time. You could settle down and make your own colony. And oh my god, that's just such an insane thought. The fact that you can just, some people could play this as a pirate simulator, a space pirate simulator, or some people could just do a colony building simulation. And it's just crazy that this game can be both things. This is like the biggest game ever made, honestly. I can't believe it's gonna be real someday. In like 3 months, honestly. Closer to 2 months because of the early access. Great deal. But yeah, after that, they did then go on to talk about the combat in detail, and they showed a lot of it. Because a lot of people were a little concerned about the combat when they first unveiled it, showed it off in the last gameplay demo last year, I want to say. The last little showcase they had. People were saying it looked a little slow and like it was just Fallout 4 again. But they went on to show off the fact that it's so much faster and fluid and all around just like a tighter version of that Fallout 4 gameplay, but just better. That's a lot of the things that happened here. It's like they took Fallout 4 and then they just said, how do we make that a better game? Even better. And then they did all of this, and here we are. Which does lead us into the second half of our good old friend Socksucker42's write-in. I also went on to ask, what worries you most about Starfield? And then they answered with that it will just become space Fallout. And I didn't think that claim that worry had much substance to it at first until I wrote down all of these notes. And I realized just how often I talked about Fallout. I was like, yeah, a lot of this gunplay, like the gunplay, the throwing the mines, the weapon modifications, a lot of it does look like Fallout 4, but just enhanced in a way. But I do feel like that the setting would set itself apart enough from Fallout 4 that it's not just a space Fallout game. Like, because it does have a lot of the same systems with the outposts and stuff, but the space setting, I imagine, sets itself apart enough. But at the end of the day, I don't mind it because I love Fallout, and if I can get some Fallout in space, I'd be cool with that. But for like the people who aren't as big a fan of Fallout, I do feel like the setting being in space will be completely different and drastically different from a post-apocalyptic sort of setting. That you'll probably still get the same things that I love from a Fallout game, but just in a whole different setting that works for more people. If the Fallout setting doesn't work for you, the Starfield setting should, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah. And then they ended off by showing the Force. Pretty much, it's just your character walking down a hallway and using the Force. I'd imagine that it's like some sort of artifact ability that you can get, like think Skyrim with the shouts. What are they called? There's a better word for it. Thuum, that's what it was called. That's not a better word at all. The shouts, voices, words of power. That's what they were, I think. The words of power, I'd imagine that they play similarly to that, these artifact abilities that I'm completely just imagining. I think that they're what's going on here. And the ability that I think they use was like some sort of zero gravity thing, which is cool. I mean, yeah, it's cool. You know? A lot of people still think that this game is just too good to be true, but I have complete and total faith in this game, and I can tell you why right now. That's because this is that game that Todd Howard has been dreaming of making for 25 years, as he says at the very beginning of the deep dive, that this is a game that they've thought about for the past 25 years. Now the technology is here to finally make this game a reality. And it's likely the only shot he's going to get at this game because time passes and it sucks. It really does suck. But he has mentioned that Elder Scrolls 6 is very likely to be his last Elder Scrolls game because of age and how long these games take to make, and he just doesn't see himself doing it forever. It does make me wonder if he'll do one last Fallout. But if Elder Scrolls 6 is his last Elder Scrolls, what are the chances that he sticks around in the industry long enough to make it to a Starfield 2? I don't think that it's very likely. So I think that he's giving this game his all, that the whole team is putting their everything into this game because it is their everything game. I feel like this game has the potential to be like Todd Howard's greatest accomplishment, quite honestly, as the game director of this game and all of that. I think it's the one that he's been wanting to make forever, and I feel like he would not mess that up because he doesn't want to. If the game wasn't working, we would know by now. But he has complete faith in it, and I have complete faith in it. But those are my thoughts on Starfield and the Starfield deep dive. But let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. What gets you excited? What are you looking forward to out of this game? Let me know in the comments below because, that I like to read that. And of course, it does help with the algorithm, which is of course the thing that we all want to appease to. You know how it goes. So let me know in the comments below. But you made it to the end of this video. Not many people do. I can see the analytics. So just know that when I say this, I truly mean it. Thanks for watching this episode of Talk About, the show where I talk about whatever it is I want to talk about with you. Remember though, the only way for you to be a part of the next episode is by clicking the link in the description below. Until then, stay safe and play some video games.